For more on this historic decision, we're joined by the Minister of Indigenous Services, Hadju. Minister Hadju, thanks for being with us. The tribunal ordered Canada to pay compensation in 2019. 4 years later, people are still waiting when they'll see that money. Can you tell us when that might happen?
Well, first of all, let me just say this is the largest settlement in Canadian history at $23 billion, and we're so pleased that the federal court has approved the agreement in principle. And families, you're right, have been waiting for a very long time to see justice, and today justice was served, and Canada is now obviously will honor that agreement that we signed a couple of years ago.
Can you tell us who might be deciding how the compensation will be distributed?
Yeah, so there is a settlement implementation committee that is comprised of Indigenous peoples who will design how the settlement is paid and how there will be safeguards in place to ensure that the experience of claiming, putting in a claim is a safe experience for people. We saw with previous settlements that there was, although obviously a recognition through the settlements that of the harm created by, for example, residential schools, that the process itself could be also harmful. And so this has been part of the work of the parties to make sure that this settlement process will be Indigenous-led, and so that committee will be working very, very quickly to try to ensure that the process unfolds smoothly, quickly, and in a way that supports Indigenous mental wellness.
There have been calls for the Prime Minister to issue an apology on this. Do you know where we're at with that?
Well, listen, I think it's really important that we, first of all, recognize that this historic settlement is an indication of the guilt of Canada, if you will, to perpetuate systemic discrimination in the child welfare system. And I know that the parties are asking for the Prime Minister to apologize to the so many families that have been harmed by that system. When we say that, oftentimes Canadians can't even imagine what kinds of harms. And yet hearing the representative class members talk yesterday at a ceremony, it's as broad as people being removed from their homes and then raised in multiple foster homes, disconnected from family, language, and culture, and struggling in sometimes hostile environments, to people living with severe disabilities and not having the supports they need to stay at home and be cared for in community, surrounded by the people that love them, and so many other stories. And so the need for an apology, the need for recognition is something I fully understand.
Minister Hadju, there are those who say that this is great that this is happening now, that there is a settlement, but that the discrimination in the system continues today. Is that something you'd agree with?
I would agree with that, and in fact that's why the agreement in principle 2 years ago had a component for compensation for harms perpetuated, and that's the decision by the court today that agreement is now solid and accepted by all parties. But the second half is the reforming the system, and that work continues with all of the parties. It's about making sure that we don't continue that kind of systemic discrimination going into the future. All the parties remain at the table to ensure that this very difficult and complicated piece of work gets done and is appropriately resourced. And I'm proud to continue that work with the parties.
Minister Hadju, we'll have to leave it there, but appreciate you taking some time for us on this day.
Thank you very much, Dennis.